if you will, tell me more about what you think can help our kids to build resilience right now, or what we can do to help them build resilience.
Yeah, the exciting thing for me regarding resilience is that resilient kids are not born, they are made.
Mm.
It is a skill that we can teach our kids. It's not in their DNA, it's not a birth right. It is skills. And the other thing about resiliency is it's not a standalone, right? Resilient actually has numerous traits under it, which helps us break down and look at how we can start addressing and building those in our kids.
Okay.
Dr. Michelle Borba, I can't recommend her work enough, just came out with a book called Thrivers. And it took 30 years to write this book because she was looking at longitudinal studies with kids during different times of adversity and who was able to bounce back and who wasn't, and what were those commonalities. And what she found, yeah, it's fantastic. The book just came out, but she's doing a lot of podcasts, and her website is great. I think it's Dr. Michelle Borba. If you Googled her, you'll find it. She's got some great handouts and resources for parents.
Fabulous.
In her research, what she found is that there's actually 7 traits that make up resilience. And they are confidence, the first one. And she said that's actually the greatest one. In their research, that's what they found is confident kids are resilient kids. So how, as parents, do we help, especially in an uncertain time, like a pandemic, and where they're not getting that social engagement with peers? How do we build that confidence? And what they found in their research is confident kids have an understanding and appreciation of who they are, not what their parents want them to be. And that may be hard for us parents out there to hear that if we truly want to instill confidence in our kids, we need to put aside our pictures of what we think they are, hope they are,
Want
and
them to be whatever it is.
Want them to be, and listen to who they are.
Mm.
And you can do that by exploring what are their strengths. Our culture spends a lot of time with kids looking at their weaknesses and building those up, and not enough time on their strengths. And if anyone out there is parenting kids with learning differences, I hear you. Both my girls have a plethora of learning differences. And this is a model in the LD world. Focus on their weaknesses, build those. Which, yes, with LD kids, we do need to look at those. And at the same time, look at their strengths and really feed that, because that's going to help with their confidence. And so taking a step back and being like, what does my kid like to spend time doing? Looking at pictures and all the pictures. This is when they're really smiling. When they're on that rock face climbing, they're really smiling. Or look at this picture in the background. I didn't even notice it. Zoe was drawing. Wow, we're on the top of Sam's Knob and she's drawing with her notebook.
Wow.
Really taking that time as a parent to be like, okay, I'm checking what I want, and let's look at what my kids are into, what they're passionate about, and what their strengths are. In her book, she talks about Michael Phelps's mom doing that his ADD was so severe that he was told by all his teachers, his mother was told that he's not going to amount to anything, that we've never seen ADD this severe. And so she took a step back and she watched to see what his interests were, what lit him up. And swimming and being in the pool, she saw him content. And so she followed that. Yeah, what an amazing mom. She followed that route for him. And
because we focus on our weaknesses as adults, or when we focus on our kids' weaknesses, we begin to identify as it seems to me from the outside listening to what you're saying, that by only focusing on the weaknesses of our kids can start to think that that's what they are.
Yes.
That they are the struggle to keep up, or that they are behind because they can't read as well, or that they have these problems, and that's what they're focusing on. But if we can acknowledge weaknesses but focus on strengths, then they can start to identify with, I'm not great at reading, but I'm a fish in water and I love being in the water and I'm a really good swimmer. I'm the best swimmer. And that confidence.
And that confidence then becomes the voice in their head when they face adversity, whether collective like a pandemic or individually. And that voice is like, I got this. I got this. A confident person can have that self-talk of, I've got this. This will be hard. We're not going to candy coat it, but I've got this.
But I can do hard things.
I can do hard things. Yeah, absolutely. So in her research, that's what she found, that of the 7 traits, that one is the most important in building a resilient, she calls them thrivers, in building a thriver, a resilient kiddo.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then the other one that I think was really powerful in her research was empathy. Empathetic kids are resilient kids. And she quoted a study that came out right before the pandemic. So I'm not even sure how the pandemic played into it. But in over 30 years of the American child, there has been a decline in empathy by 40%. Yeah.
Why?
40%. Yeah, she doesn't go into the why. I have my hunches of the why, and it's screen time and pop culture, because we know empathy is a mirror neuron. For our kids to be empathetic, they need to see it. It's a mirror neuron that lies in the prefrontal cortex. So not only do they need to see it, but they can't be in amygdala. They need to be in prefrontal cortex. So building empathy, what it's doing is it's creating the mindset of we, not me. And what her research found is that that really helps with mental health. We're in this together, not just me. There's other people. And that leads to resiliency. We've got this, and even language around the pandemic of like, we've got this. This isn't just our country. This is the world. This isn't just our family. This is, it layers out. We're in this together.
We're surviving together.
We're surviving together. Mm-hmm. We, not me. Yeah. And then I'll just go through the other ones quickly because they are, I think, very interesting. The other one is self-control. And this is, they can put the brakes on their impulses. This is a big area because kids, just by the nature of not having a fully developed prefrontal cortex, are very impulsive. And then you layer on kiddos with learning differences, right? ADD, that's executive function. So this is something that we can teach them. How do you regulate? And for me, and the work I do with clients as well as my own kids, is helping them learn to elongate the pause between stressor and reaction. When that stressor happens, our cave brain wants to react right away. But if we can take a deep breath, if we can take the long pause, if we can walk away and give some time and then come back, we're in a better space with our reaction. And we're going to have that self-control that resilient kids have.
The long pause.
The long pause. Yep. I teach it to my girls as the power pause. And that the power pause is this superhero, much like Wonder Woman. And so when you have a stressor, you need to become power pause.
I love that.
Captain Power Pause.
That's beautiful for younger kids to have.
Exactly. Younger kids can do that. Yeah, and even you can draw it out together and be like, what does Captain Power Pause look like? Does it work all the time? No, right? Because sometimes they're so triggered. But it's how I talked about, it's the long game. None of this is overnight. Yes, resilient kids are made, not born, but they're not made overnight, right? They're made over many years.